may start out, for some people, you know, they don't get paid to do what they do. Like, I started my own show when I was here, right? It was the semester after I graduated, and it's called the Intellekt, and I made that when I was in a situation where I had to live in a dorm, and I was just like, you know what? I post pictures and music and fashion on my Snapchat all the time. I should just make a show, right? You know, because we post about things, we talk, we connect with people all the time, you know. So it's just kind of like we all pretty much have our own show every day when we put stuff on our story, right? We got a story, so we got a show, right? So, but it was just like, why wait? Because I had waited long enough. I had always had this idea, so I just went ahead and did it. Like, I got videos before me doing like fashion reviews and stuff that sat on my hard drive and still are sitting for years because it was just like, I just didn't have the confidence, you know? And that's the thing, like sometimes we'll even put something all together in secrecy just to still not put it out to the public because we just like, oh man, you know, anybody gonna really watch it? I ain't gonna get 100,000 views and things like that. But the thing about it, what's going on, y'all? What's going on? The thing about it is that where you start is not your ego, and you know, you just gotta get your feet wet. So, yeah, that was time perfect.
No.
Oh.
So, what questions do y'all have for me?
Got a couple questions about your journey.
Okay.
Like, you know, I know you said you did the show after you got to college, but like I know it's not straight as that to like Fox News. So I'm really curious about that.
Well, you should know. I was living in my mom's basement. If you're watching this, I didn't pay rent for 2 years, so I owe her everything going forward. But when I got back to my mom's house, because after I graduated, I stuck down here, because I graduated in December of 2017, stuck down here till about April of that next year, 2018, and I went home and I was just like depressed, you know, because you got to pretty much start your life all over again. Because when you're down here, everything's right there. You know, the party, the library, the gym, you know, especially me having graduated. So I'm just going to work all day, you know. So if I'm not at work, I'm kicking it. But of course, I was more responsible than that. You know, I would be at work, I would be chilling sometimes, of course, but I would be working on my show. And it was just like, it had to be done because I had waited long enough. But when I got back to my mom's house, I worked downtown at Express, right? Express is my favorite store, y'all. Like, through and through. Like, what's everybody's favorite store, by the way? Where do y'all like to go shopping?
Wait, real quick, which Express? Was it like the one in the city that was like that Chick-fil-A? Was it that one, or like was it a different? Was it on like
it was the
South
one,
State Street?
It was the one on State Street. It was the one across the street from Nike Town. I even worked at the one here when I was down here up until April of 2018. I worked at the mall too. But you know, working
I
downtown.
like Express. I have a credit card.
Okay. Express is a great place. If y'all want to know how to shop there, I know it can be a little pricey, but you just gotta just know, like, always walk in with a coupon in your plan. But and anything can be returned. But I went back home to my mom's house and I worked downtown. Went on the metro every day, right? And I would walk past so many things, whether it be an actual event or, you know, because what you guys are doing, for those that are in journalism or not, you know, just learning how to be storytellers, you just see things and just be like, what is it about them that make me want to learn more, right? So it was a time where I was walking past these guys, and they would be street performing, they doing the flips, the acrobats, and they run and they flip over like 12 people. It was one day I just stopped them, and I was just like, my man, I see you every day. What's your story? Because I also saw his Instagram page, and he had 40,000 followers, and he was a part of this dance group that was on America's Got Talent, right? So shortly after us talking, I interviewed him, and you know, this guy had performed with Chance the Rapper. They had traveled all across the world. One of the guys I went to high school with, but they had all joined together, and he had went on tour with the baby shortly after us having interviewed. But it was just me just being curious about what it was. And when I got to the event, I wore this really loud suit, right? And I want to show y'all this picture because this suit was like loud. Like, it's so loud, it'll wake your neighbors up. That's how loud it is. But I just walked into that event and I acted like I belonged. I'm trying to find this picture, y'all. One second. Okay, so this is me at the All-Star Weekend. So I know y'all all probably can't see this, but I'm sure you can hear how loud this suit is, but I'll just kind of just walk through and let all y'all see it. I'm sorry. But
And you wore it on purpose, right?
I wore it on purpose, right? So I wore this super loud suit, which is one of my favorites. And it was like,
Ain't no crying.
it was like, it was my statement piece, right? It was also my admission ticket. Oh, I'm sorry. It was also my admission ticket, but the thing was that I never got confirmation from that lady about whether or not I could come cover the event, right? Because it was just like fun and games, expo, All-Star Weekend, bring your kids, right? I never got confirmation, right? So I'm just like, man, I really want to do this. You know, I can't let this whole weekend go by because I couldn't get into like any of the clubs because I wasn't paying $100 like plus like All-Star Weekend. Everything is expensive. Like they say that is like the Super Bowl for specifically black people, and I can see why. But you know, it was so many things happening, right? You know, all Amigos, Moneybag Yo, The Rock, all these great people are here in town for this one weekend. But I couldn't let this one event go by. So I just went there. I went to David Pierce and I just showed up. I said, hey, I'm David Pierce. I'm here to cover the event. And they was like, oh, right this way, Mr. Pierce. You know, I got my tripod. I got my camera. So you just got to show up some places like you belong there and can't nobody tell you nothing. And even if they tell you no, you like, well, let me talk to the manager or something because something ain't right. You know, because the thing is that, because there's been places I just absolutely was just told no. They was like, no, bye, get out of here. You know, and it was embarrassing, but you know, it wasn't the first time. So over time, you kind of get used to rejection, so you know you get better at it. But it was like, it was a great event. It was so much fun, and Meg Thee Stallion was performing. So I got to record Meg Thee Stallion doing her thing, and I got to interview people, and they were just like, man, you know, my girl, she wasn't with me, but I just wanted to know, let her know that it was fun, and I had a great time. Shout out to Chicago. Like, a lot of people, a lot of girls was like, we came from Dallas all the way just to see it. Da, da, da. Like, it was just fun just being present and hearing people's reaction because you'd be surprised. Nowadays with social media, people are willing, they're more sociable now, right? You know, they're more willing to connect with you if you just say, hey, you know, I'm doing this. Do you mind sharing your thoughts? I'm like, yeah, for sure. You know, so it was great. It was great.
How does that experience relate to what you do now? Because people say no to you now.
People
at the TV station.
People do say no to me now. And a lot of times that has to do with me trying to say, can you do this interview today? Can you do this interview today? Can you talk to me right now? Like, with what I do today, it's all about planning, right? So back then, I was fortunate to have spoken to her days in advance, and like by the grace of God and faith, I was able to get in there and that event happened for me, you know, because we deserve good things. Like, don't think that because you all aren't where you want to be now that you don't deserve to be certain places. Like, just go. You have nothing to lose by going because, I mean, you don't have much to stand on right now. So if you go and you get rejected, what do you have to lose? But how it has helped me today was I read this book, and I don't know if it's still in the curriculum for UI7, but it's called Aim for the Heart. And the way the book taught me how to write my stories was about, you gotta make the story about people. You know, a lot of people are here to enjoy themselves and have a great time, unforgettable experience. It's not just, yeah, All-Star Weekend happened this weekend and a lot of people were there. Like, you gotta make it seem like this was something that changed somebody's life. You know what I'm saying? This is something that they'll never get back again. You know, all they have is this memory, this moment in time. So it just, me having done those stories over and over and over, and since I'm not working on a deadline, I'm a perfectionist, so I really had time to perfect the story to my liking so that I at least know how to tell the story. So now it's about efficiency. That's the biggest thing. Efficiency comes with planning, and planning, you just gotta know, okay, what might I wanna cover on this day? What's happening around this time of the year, right? Like Thanksgiving stories are real popular right now, right? Like I'm working on a story about dementia-friendly Thanksgivings, right? Never thought of it, just read the email today, because this was from a New York like post. You get like random statistics or, you know, try this in your local neighborhood, you know? And I was just like, that is really interesting because how many of us have somebody with like some sort of condition like that, whether it be dementia or their family member isn't as mobile? But show of hands, right? Right, grandparents, aunties, uncles, yeah. So a lot of people don't think about that type of stuff, but it's people that are impacted by that stuff every day, first of all, not just Thanksgiving. But it's also important to educate people on those things because it happens. And it's heartbreaking too. You know, it's some people that have mothers that don't recognize them today. And this has been their mother since birth. You know, and just imagine having to deal with that every day. It's the holiday now. And even your mama screaming at you like, get away from me. You know, so it's important to know how, for one, how to educate people on that. But two, you never know who's watching. You know, you might come across somebody, or somebody might come across it, and they might be like, you know what, I got a friend who I'm visiting today on Thanksgiving. I know how I can help her. You know? So you become a resource to people, to make a long story short. Who's next? Y'all go ahead.
Yeah, so I heard you were like telling us about how you like started your show back in college and stuff. So how did you go from like that show? Like, what was your like timeline like after the show? And like, could you just like share a little bit about that?
Well, the show is not over. You know, I want you to understand that this is a lifelong dream of mine. Like, I really want to get late night television because I love to have a good time and things like that. But what was your question one time? I'm sorry.
Oh, you know, yeah. So it's like, how did you go from like the TV show to where you are now? Because like with me, like personally, like you said, you like like to film yourself and everything.
Yeah.
Like I had like a YouTube channel since I was a kid,
Right.
and I've been like making videos and stuff. And like one of my videos like it didn't go viral, but it just got like a bunch of views out of nowhere and stuff. So
Yeah.
it's just like that type of stuff is like fun to me and stuff. So I was just like curious about like how you started from like that to where you are now.
Well, the thing about it was that I did all of those stories because I did several stories, right? And I actually became a producer in the midst of me doing my show because from 2018 to May of 2020, that's when I first became a producer. So I wasn't always a reporter. Even when I did get my first news job, I wasn't always a reporter. I was starting as a producer. So that means I was behind the scenes, learning, typing on the computer all day, and just waiting my turn, right? Even when I was thinking I was doing my best work, right? But I did my show, I had my reel. I had a few stories from my college reel, which, it was just like basically like a mixtape, really, But the stories that I had did for my show, my reel set the foundation on how to tell stories. And then that set the foundation for me to get my job. And it was just that I was able to create a reel from the stories that I did. I also went down to Louisville, right? And this is something I really want to tell y'all. And what I mean by it, you belong there, right? So Breonna Taylor had a memorial 1 year exactly after the day she was killed. Champaign is 3.5 hours from Louisville, right? And I told my girlfriend at the time, I'm like, we going. At first I was gonna go by myself, but my sister was like, nah, these police officers is cutting up, we going with you. So her and her boyfriend came with me, right? So the 4 of us, right? Man, I got business cards and everything, right? I was official, right? And I went there, we pulled up to the event, they were having the rally and all of that in Freedom Park, and there her mother was. You know, it was different people speaking, Dr. Umar Johnson, Benjamin Crump, a lot of people speaking. It was like 500 people out there. And after we had did the march, I had interviewed a few people and caught Dr. Umar Johnson just standing there by himself. And I just walked up to him like, Dr. Umar, it's nice meeting you, good to connect. Can I have 2 minutes of your time? Right, you got when they real big important people just say, can I have 2 minutes? Just 2. Really, it turns into 5. You just say 2, so they just all right, come on. Right. So long story short, I interviewed Breonna Taylor's mother. I interviewed Breonna Taylor's boyfriend, Kenny Walker. I interviewed Benjamin Crump. I interviewed Dr. Umar Johnson. And I also interviewed guests that were there too, right? Just to kind of get their perspective. Because they were white people there too. And I was just like, what brings you here? You know? And they were just like, I never knew there was an experience out there other than my own. Can you believe that? I never knew there was an experience out there other than my own.
It's called privilege.
Yes, it's called privilege. Yes. But it's interesting to see what people think. And that's what I love about having named my show The Intellekt, because literally my goal is to pick people's brain and just see what people think, and also just kind of help them see things like in a different way, right? You know, because Dr. Umar Johnson, he talked about how like white people say that they're so for Black Lives Matters, but it's their white privilege. And this is his opinion. This is not my own. This is his opinion. He says white privilege is what carries these things on, you know, with voter suppression, jobs, employment, Flint, you know, and it's just a matter of, and even maybe not even those things, but just think about redlining, right? Food deserts, you know. It wasn't until probably the last 50 years, going back to the 70s, that Black people really started holding positions, that they can make decisions of such to help people, you know, if it gets approved. You know, you got to vote on these sort of things, right? But, yeah, I just took the moment to just go out there and just go. And I interviewed all those wonderful people, and I got a great story, and can't nobody tell me that I'm not a reporter. And that was before I became on television. So now if you call yourself a doctor, you need certification for that. Ain't nobody gonna be operating on me without certification. But if you're a DJ, play music, you're a DJ. There you go. You know, act like it. Be that, you know. Make sure that your actions reflect the things that you say. Because don't be sitting up here running around telling people like, yeah, I'm a TV reporter, I'm this, I'm that. But you don't have nothing to show for it. You know, over time, when you first starting out, you might not, you know. But even when you don't have nothing, you can say that. But if it's been like 5 years and you telling people you got a podcast and you only got 1 episode, like, let's be for real. Like, let's be for real, you know, because we start things all the time. How many of us have started something and you just, after that first go around, like, you just like, when you may not even like intentionally decided that you wanted to stop working, you just stopped working on it.
I mean, I got, 8 episodes out. I just have an unfinished 9th episode.
Okay. How long has the 9th episode been in the works?
I taped it in February, but I didn't get a chance to finish it completely. And it was with Carol Moraine.
My man, it's November.
I know. I never finished it. I was like,
either we getting it done or we not.
Like, I've got so many people. I'm like,
But you know what? One thing I will say is that sometimes life gets in the way, right?
That part.
Sometimes we have family emergencies. Sometimes we're broke, right? It's hard to be chasing the dream and you're broke, right? And that's another thing too, is just like, don't just go all out and just try to chase a dream and you ain't got no money. You know, you out here begging, right? You can't be begging and be trying to chase a dream, right? You know, some of the greatest people have done that, but it just causes so much stress, right? Like, just imagine if you don't have insurance, right? And you out here following the dream, but you got several cavities in your mouth, right? That is a problem. That's a health risk, right? Let's say you don't get a root canal, right? And now you have, an abscess, and then that turns into something even more worse because you want to follow a dream. You know, you just pass out at work one day because you want to follow a dream, right?
Yeah.
So that's what I mean. Like, you gotta get your feet set first. Because even though I was living in my mama's basement and I was 24, I had a job, and I was on her insurance.
No, that's right.
Period.
But when I turned 25, because I turned 25 in August of 2020, I got my job in May of 2020. So it was just like, like just getting on the bus and the door closed, So I was like, because that was my thing too. Like, all right, I got to get a full-time job because I need to have insurance. I can't just be out there, hurt, But the intellect set the foundation for my real, and the rest was history. But yeah, you gotta get the episode done, man.
I know.
The streets is waiting.
I mean, the most popular episodes out of it was what my interviews with Diane Burns and Marcia and Greco, but that's that.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. But other than that, like my episodes of backstory and my news work are like the main two things that are helping me bring it back.
Yeah.
Have you interviewed Cheryl Burton?
No, I have not. I mean, Cheryl Burton doesn't answer her phone.
Okay.
Or her messages.
Okay, but you tried.
I tried.
You tried.
Like, I got Diane Burns. I was lucky.
Yeah, that was great.
Here's
That's
one thing I
awesome.
will say.
Awesome. Congratulations. Awesome.
And that's great. Congrats to you. But the thing about that is that, because we all got some really good stuff that's cooking up, right? Like, where it's huge. Even if you don't think it's huge, it might be so big that when you do it, you'd be like, well, what the heck was I waiting on, right? You gotta just go ahead and get it done. You gotta plan accordingly, make sure you get the bills paid, you're going to work, your class, the grades is together, but you gotta find that time, even if it's just 15 minutes a day. Maybe it's not you sitting in front of a computer, but it's you just writing down a new idea, right? If it's a script, maybe a couple more lines, but you gotta do something, because when it comes to news, if you wait too long, it's gonna be old and nobody's gonna care, right? Because one thing I can honestly say about my show is that it was 90% about my interest, right? But the thing about me taking a news job is that I learned, right, this crazy thing, right? People care only about certain stuff. So you probably want to report on that versus what you care about by yourself, right? Because your job is to serve people, right? Because it felt good for me to do my show and, kind of feed my own ego, like, yeah, I'm a reporter, I got my own show, yeah, but if nobody cares, you're really wasting your time, right? Because are you doing the show for you, or are you doing the show to educate, inform, and entertain people? Like, you gotta know who your audience is. Otherwise, you just, you just make content. And who wants to waste their time after they hard work? Because don't get me wrong. I don't go out to try to see how much attention that I can get. But another thing that does bother me is that when I worked hard on something and only a few people saw it, I'm upset. That's a problem. And it's probably something that I did wrong. So you got to take accountability.
And you have to do something different. I remember I was talking to a class here in the music school, and they were doing podcasts, and they were pitching to me, telling me the podcast. And I it's like, 5 people told me that they talk to local bands. And it's like, when you do that's different. This is different. Your seat's not there. That's different.
How's that different?
Because you wore that last suit. You stood out.
And they didn't know your
But-
name per se, but they knew the guy
They knew
in the
the guy in
suit.
the last suit.
Right.
He gotta be serious.
Who watches the hot takes of that chicken wing guy and everything who's
Yeah,
from here?
yeah.
How many celebrity interviews can you watch? That's different, and it's now they're parodying it on Saturday Night Live, and the Viola Davis one is hilarious. But she's Virgin Islands. But anyway,
I saw that.
that was funny. But it's different, and then what can you do? It's it's a big improvement. I think you got a question.
Oh, yeah, just go back to
Okay, Ari, do you have a question? You were so kind to invite me. Ari is such a great person. Like, she came to a speaking engagement that I did last week, and I let her know the day of. And she was so kind to still come and support me. So, I just want to thank you so much for being so kind and just always inviting me into this space. So, thank you.
But
Now she's getting all bashful.
yeah, I hate when the attention is on me. I hate. Sam, no, he seemed like 1902 when they were singing "Happy Birthday" last year. I was like,
When is your birthday?
December 2nd.
Oh, so your birthday's coming.
Coming out.
We can sing happy birthday.
No.
We should just sing Ari. No, okay. We gonna wait. But
I would say your process of building the intellect. Like, how did you know that the intellect was going to be the intellect?
well, I wanted to give it a cool name, because I couldn't think of nothing else. I really couldn't think of nothing else, and it just hit me one day. Because I wanted it to be something like informative, like cool at the same time. The Intellekt isn't like a cool, sexy name, to be honest. It's really not. But I threw a K in there, right? It's not because I'm a noob. For those that don't know, I'm one of the noobs, and these are my fraternity brothers. And it was like I had to make it cool because putting a K in it, I feel like made a difference. So it's like when T.I. spelled trap music with a Z and a K, right? He spelled music M-U-Z-I-K, right? And this was like 2004, right? So it was just like, okay, what is it about it that this has to be spelled music, like? But that's what I just decided upon. It was like cool, fun, but like insightful.
One thing I noticed this community talk is that you're good with your words, your way of speaking, and one problem I have, especially now that you moved from reporter to trying to do something like on a show, is how do you put your words that you're thinking on paper? Because that's what I think I'm a good speaker, I can talk well, but actually putting it on paper is completely different. And so,
you just kind of got to learn how to, you got to read a book, You got to learn how people talk in television, which isn't much different than how we talk, but there is a certain kind of formula to it, right? Where you kind of leave the actual words at the end, where it's just everything's like a power punch, you keep your words short. And the thing is that you got to realize people don't, if I sit here and say, I was at the NABJ meeting and I was looking at people in their faces and they had on a jacket and they had on a laptop and they had on a laptop, but they had their laptop sitting that's just too much you throwing at people at one time. You got to chop it up. I was at the NABJ meeting and I spoke about my journey as a reporter. And I had the opportunity to tell people that they can do whatever they want to do as long as they plan and they execute, right? So it's just a matter of just taking breaks in between sentences so that people can digest the last thing you just said, right? Because our attention spans aren't that great, especially now. Oh my gosh, you can't keep somebody's focus. If you're not jumping off a building screaming and doing all types of crazy stuff, people, you will lose people with attention like that, you know. So you gotta really be like the Kool-Aid man almost.
And I'll say this, the more you do it, the more it just becomes natural to you, because it's usually a time. X amount of words equals a time limit, and you just over time will just, you can feel it, but when you first start you might be counting, but it just comes to you in time. The more you do it, the better you get. And I say that because I'm the same way. I'm very wordy, and so I'll just put it out there, and then I'll step away from it, and I'll come back and I'll just start cutting it up. I'll start taking out stuff that's overly descriptive. You know, like I've already said it, you don't have to say it again, you know, so you just get used to it over time, and it's just a practice. Some people are naturally gifted at it, and other people, like me, you gotta work, it's just something you work at, you know.
So yeah, man, you just gotta practice, you know, get in some classes. It takes time, you know, like, one thing is that when you look at people and where they are now, you can best believe they did not start like that.
Very true.
They didn't start like that.
At all.
They didn't start like that. So I know it can be hard because sometimes I compare myself to others too. But the thing is that don't fool yourself into thinking that everybody starts out like just glamorous, because that's a lie, you know. Some people do floss in what they do, but I think television is probably one of the harder things to project because, you know, even reading on a teleprompter can be hard, because you might be like, this is going on right now, and
Yeah.
like, it's not that easy.
No, it's not. It's not easy to do it and make it look like you're not doing it.
Yeah. You know, because for anchors, they have already read the script maybe once or twice already, right? Now for breaking news, they might be a little sketchy, like, if we're getting word from, you know, the location where police are, we're gonna stick with this, you know, stay tuned with us on foxillinois.com. You know, they kind of just tiptoe around it for what they know at that moment, but, you know, it takes practice. You know, it takes charisma, it takes self-love, you know, like,
It's a lot of confidence too.
it does, you know.
And you really hit a key point. It really takes a lot of time. You just gotta fake it. Because a lot of it just isn't a natural thing, but you gotta pretend that it is. And then the more you pretend, then when it comes up again, you know how to get through it, and then it becomes more natural. So faking it. I'm so glad that you said that, because we all start out at the beginning. You know, you get better the more times you do it, but there's always a first time. And your first time doesn't have to be a horrible experience. Your first time can be a breakthrough experience just because you had the courage to do it and you faked it and you got through it. And so the second time you're ready. Third time you're like, let's do this. You know? So it just comes in time, a lot of it.
It really does. Like, it's been times where I filmed the Intellekt and I was literally somewhere where people were watching me and walking past, downtown, Navy Pier somewhere, and I was, yo, what's going on, everybody? No, that wasn't it. Yo, what's going on, everybody? We at the car show, and we are, no, I'm gonna try this again. Like, literally, like, it took me like 10 times to do it. Now it might take me like 3. But over time, you will get better at what you do. And I'm glad Reggie was able to get his laptop, because I'm sitting there talking about something that I can't even show y'all, but now I can. Hey, there's me. Side note, my manager told me to wear a dark shaded suit and a white shirt, and as you can see, that didn't happen. But there's a reason for that. It was, you know, just having a persona too. And I'll get to that in just a moment. Reggie, thank you so much. Can we just give that hand clap? Because now I can actually show y'all what I'm talking about. Now we're not just, you know, because that's the thing too. Like, you know, me, this could be boring. I really came in here with like a whole bunch of stuff. I tried to be conservative, but I had like stuff because I wanted to play hot potato with y'all. So can anybody catch? Anybody catch? Yeah, you. All right, boom, my man. What about you? Can somebody catch over here? No. Oh. See, you out. You out. Okay. We ain't got long, y'all. We here for a good time, not a long time.
I wanted to say on storytelling, as the news director actually sometimes has to approve people's stories. And even when I was in Dallas and I had reporters who are like David, but I've been doing it for 20, sometimes you do get stuck. But one thing is reading, and when you're on TV, it looks like I have reporters who sometimes they do live shots and they were great and they're walking and talking and everything. I have no idea what they're talking about 2 minutes in, really. But just remember, every story has a beginning, a middle, and an end. And even if you are just rushing out and reporting on what happened in the Supreme Court, you have to tell people why they were there, what the action was taken, and how it affects people. Because if you're just reporting and not really connecting the dots, people really tune out. They just don't understand. And that's what really good reporters. You can close that one. Just like
You watch some comedy on your way.
watching comedy too. But it's just important, and then I could just tell, even when David's talking, it's just that's what you look for in story times. That's what I look for when I hire people. And the good reporters really do it well. I hope that the audio is okay. Let's see.
Seems like it's working. All right.
Yo, what's going on, everybody? Dave Floppy with the Intellekt, and right now with the NBA All Access, sponsored by AT&T. So stay tuned. We're gonna show you some more of what's inside, and we'll be right back with you. All right, Dave Floppy, Intellekt, let's go. The NBA brought the All-Star Game to Chicago for the first time in over 30 years. To warm up for the main event, the league collaborated with AT&T for a basketball bonanza, allowing fans to show their love for the sport. Upon entry, guests learned about what made past All-Stars great, and the kicks they wore to get the job done. This was something bound to make sneakerheads drool on sight. Now, you can't have All-Star Weekend in Chicago and not embrace the city's rich history. The Chicago Bulls upheld what is arguably the greatest era of basketball the world has ever seen. 6 championships made up of 2 3-peats, 1991 to 1993 and 1996 to 1998. And yes, that includes the best overall season when the Bulls won 72-10 and finished with a ring. Sorry, Warriors. The Bulls has led many people to choose his sneakers as their favorite. So when it comes to rocking kicks, it's safe to say that Chicago
started the sneaker culture, boy. We had MJ here.
The ball stopped bouncing and the crowd got electrified with a dazzling performance by Urbana and friends. Her singing and their dance moves got the crowd hyped and begging for more. That blazing spectacle turned into an alley-oop for the Houston Hot Girl to make a slam dunk. She riled up some fellow hotties on stage for a game of silent sex. Then proceeded to show how H-Town gets down in Chi-Town. The party came to a close, and I had some people tell me how Meg Thee Stallion rocked their all-star experience. Just saw the hot girl herself perform hyphen
That was amazing. She's always a good performance.
Now, how would you say that added to your trip to Chicago coming from Atlanta?
It made the trip. What do you mean?
I thought everything. I ain't gonna lie to you. I didn't think it was like that in real life. But everything is real if y'all don't know. So it made me look twice. I had to send a video to somebody else, you know what I'm saying, to one of the girls, you know what I'm saying, let her know that I'm not on that. But if she would have looked in the crowd, I would have been on that.
We came here for this. Yes, we ran over. For me, literally ran in our Uber.
The Windy City showed visitors a time they'll never forget. So Chicagoans had to remind outsiders to put some respect on their name.
Chicago is lit. Okay, we get it. That's it.
And shout out to the city. We did our thing with All-Star Weekend. We've been showing out. That's what we're supposed to do. Appreciate it. That's all I got to say.
All right, y'all, that's it on the Intellekt. Thank you for tuning in. Make sure you follow the Intellekt on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. And shout out to AT&T. Much love to y'all. Dave 5P. I'm out. Yo, what's going on?
And all it took was a paisley suit. So what did y'all think?
That was really fun.
And that was 2 years ago, and I'm sitting here watching like, oh, I could get that better. Couldn't work on that. But the thing was that like I just showed up. You know, I spoke with people, and I at least had some ground to stand on. Like, hey, I spoke to somebody, and just acted like I belong there. Now, it does help to wear something that stand out. As long as you ain't looking crazy. But I just act like I belong, and God just made a way. It was just like, come on in, right? And to your point about, how to write and things like that, it was just also about just being cool. This was a cool story. This was a fun. This wasn't like, yes, 500 people showed up to the NBA All-Star Weekend and basketballs bounced. Like, no, it was like cool, The Houston Hot Girl shows you how she gets down in Chi-Town, so it was just like fun. So yeah, you had a question.
Yeah, like how is it working with people, like especially after like a performance, there might be some people who are like under the influence and all that. Like how does it work? Like citing them and being like, this is gonna be my YouTube channel, like did they ask or like how did that work?
I asked them.
Yeah.
Sometimes people are like, can I talk on your microphone? And be like, sir, sure. But you just don't put it in your show, right?
Right.
Because sometimes you just gotta just let people say what they want to say just so they go away. But yeah, you gotta have some discernment. You kind of just gotta know, like, I will leave that out the show. Like, if y'all noticed, there was like little beep sounds where there would have been a curse word, right? And that's the thing too. You want to make your show so appropriate that kids could watch it, the people in the hood could watch it. Grandmas could watch it, your Indian homies, your Asian homies, your white homies, like.
Let me throw this in. And so you can get ultimately some dollars down the road, because if it goes the other way, you're limiting yourself if you would get dollars at all.
Because sometimes you want to be hood fabulous, you get real raunchy and, just ignorant content. It's just like. You gotta realize at the end of the day, this is what represents you, and it falls back on you. And let's say you don't want to do that no more. You want to go into IT or something like that. And they look up your name and they see the drunken hot girl XOXO, and they just like, absolutely not. We're gonna be parting ways with you. So you just want to be appropriate. You can still be appropriate and be cool. So.
I enjoyed that you told a story. It could have been very easy, and I've seen them. I've seen that, and there were probably a lot of bloggers thought they were doing what you were doing. They're just in there, and they are like, it's cool, it's everything, but they're not telling a story. They're just making it about them, or they're making it about something that's silly. They don't have. You had great audio. I can't tell you how many times I get videos from students UIUC, and they have bad mics, or they didn't take the time to make sure and invest. You had good mics, you checked or I've seen bad video, and it's amazing you can shoot HD good video even on your phones, but there are people that have big cameras and they don't even do that. And and you told a story, you hit, and all of that comes together, and it's a story telling. I know you have logos at the end. I don't know if they sponsored you, but you know that is what that says to me is that you're professional, that you think about quality, and that's because there's anybody that has one of these can do. I once interviewed Jennifer Hudson after an album release party, and not to brag, but she did like 5 interviews, and they told everybody 5 minutes, and there were so many bloggers, and then at the end they were like, do my little sign off, you know, for whatever I'm Jennifer Hudson. And they would ask about just, I mean, you could just tell they just wanted to kind of just have an interview with Jennifer Hudson. And I asked her, you know, this is right before she had her baby, you know, like what kind of things about your music, and you know, tell me something that someone doesn't, you know, about you, and you know, if you wanted to be on a coach on a show because you won American Idol. And she told me she always wanted to be on The Voice, and she ended up being on The Voice later. Stuff that people could use and everything. And she was like, thank goodness you're from NBC, you know, because I knew it was about a story, it wasn't about me. And all those things, and that's what happens is that you put it up on a YouTube channel and you get 3 views, and you're like, well, what happened? I have Jennifer Hudson here. And she spoke, you know, she gave her stick out on my YouTube thing, but it wasn't about Jennifer Hudson, it was about you know, getting an interview with Jennifer Hudson, and again, if it doesn't stand out. But that was a story. I mean, that is a story maybe the NBA would, you know, put up, you know, or something. Or if you were doing a story, there was probably people that did that and didn't do as well, you know, getting the real flavor of what was going on. Kudos to you. And I don't know what equipment you have, but you know, it matters, you know, if you know your equipment.
Yeah, that one was with a Sony kind of basic camera, but you know, the majority of my show was an iPhone 6S. Believe that. And this was like 2019, so it was old. The iPhone 6S came out in 2015. But you know, another thing too about those logos is that when I was standing in front of that AT&T sign, I didn't program that, but it was just like, you know, how can I make myself look as legit and, you know, realistic as possible? Like I'm really this, you know, person for this job, right? And it was just like perfect. I'm gonna put it right here, right? And it just made for a good backdrop, right? And then I said, you know, shout out to AT&T. AT&T probably don't even know this video exists, okay? But, you know, in all good faith, I'm gonna say and behave the way as if they do. You know, that I am who this person that I'm portraying myself to be. You know, so. Yeah.
I saw you at the first men's basketball game. I was working it.
Yeah.
And I know that you like reported on it, and that was like your first time coming back and doing that.
Yeah.
So can you speak about that a little bit and how that experience was?
The funny thing about that was that staff shortages, right? What y'all will realize is that going into television and media, in a lot of places, there's a staff shortage. Are you all dealing with a staff shortage?
Oh, yeah, yes.
Okay.
But
okay.
TV is extra because you guys are on the air from 4 a.m. to 11 p.m.
So you got people doing like the work of 3, right? So what happened was that it was the men's basketball. I was supposed to go live because I was doing a Halloween story about RSV that's spread. It's the, you know, child disease that's impacting their lungs and stuff. But my coworker, who's the sports director, it's the men's first basketball game, right? But we only had one photo who had to go cover sports somewhere else, right? So me and him, our sports director, had to work together. So here I am talking about Halloween, and I'm at a basketball game. My news director's vision for that, because they were gonna have like people show up with costumes and stuff, so I would still get that Halloween effect. They didn't show up for like another hour. But anyway, I was there. I was fortunate to be there and, you know, do my story from there. But just being there, you know, even though it had nothing to do with anything, it was just like just being present, right? And just creating this image to yourself, like this could be you, because I took pictures there, right? And I didn't say like, yeah, just reported on the NBA basketball game. I made it clear, I'm like, You know, it was dope. First game, call some plays. You know, I put the fandom in there, you know. But also, like, you know, this wasn't what I intended this for me to be at, but I'm glad to have shown up. So, yeah. So, this is me at the game, and it was just a good photo hop. I'm going to just be honest. So, yeah, that clip was, that clip was, that was probably my worst live shot. I'm not even gonna lie, because it was so loud in there. And my news director, my sports director, he's a younger guy, and it's just one position to be filled. We don't have a whole team of people. And he's just sitting there like, what are you saying? David, I think they're saying 15. Oh, go! Like, I'm just like, because you can see me looking off to the side. I'm like, yeah, that's right. We're here at the UIUC game, and earlier I talked to doctors about RSV that's been kids in the emergency room. And it was like boom, 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 boom. Like, y'all know how pre-games be. So, yeah, it was chaotic, but we got the job done. But, yeah, it was good hanging with you. I gotta leave in a minute, but what's up?
I have another question.
I got time for one more question for those that
Right.
have some other questions.
I'm in the Illinois Public Media Student Newsroom. So basically we do like audio stories. And my last story is like a rap or whatever, so I'm gonna be voicing it. But my source will not reach out to me. Like, I've tried everything. So what do you do? Like,
will they not reach out to you?
I mean, they're not responding to me, like reaching out to them. So what do you do when you've like literally tried everything? Like, and I have a deadline. Like, you guys approved it, but like, it's not me.
Don't tell me you didn't tell them yourself. You know, one thing is that when something's not going right, make sure you try all your options before you tell your boss, I can't do it. Because that's the last thing they want to hear. But then again, they will help you. You know, that's what the news director is there for, you know. And a good leader leads their team even in crisis, you know, because we don't always know what the heck we're doing. Because if you try to do everything yourself, you might end up making a mistake, and that could cost you your reputation and your career. But that's a different story. I would say, what is the story about?
It's about a new project that the Urbana Police Department is like implementing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Who did you reach out to? Like, just tell me your position.
The chief.
He don't respond because I had to. No, you should ask him because I had to do my story on like that for my journalism. But not him, man. That was another one.
That's y'all having the same problem.
Yeah, you taking that class where you had to write a long article?
No.
But that, yeah.
Did you find the PR person? Because I can't find
Yeah, I got the email.
Wait, the Urbana Police?
Yeah.
She has expression.
Try to
Pressure
get
'cause it's class.
try to get in contact with the UI, like Alice, the chief.
Yeah,
the
Alice
chief
will
of police,
she'll
and then she can-
respond.
Yeah. She has an assistant who will respond, and then she can get you connected to them.
Yeah, that, yeah.
And here's the reality when it comes to cops. It's a lot harder. I mean, when I was a young kid, growing up, reporters, they were regular reporters, but now cops have a lot more animosity. That's Channel 3 about that from a year ago, because they have a lot of animosity with the press and stuff, and even police chiefs. And police chiefs also have a lot of people they're answering to. So sometimes in a big city like Chicago, where you have lots of police and lots of unions, sometimes they have to check with the union before they can check with all this, and so sometimes you have to find criminal justice expert or something, or someone, or maybe it's a council member who can work in, but yeah. And sometimes police are wary if you don't have a relationship, and it's hard because if you're a General Assembly reporter, you may be covering 50 different communities all for a year, and you don't have time to make relationships. And as a student, you do the same thing. But so sometimes working through the city manager or the mayor is another way too, because they have to answer to the city manager. And it's, unfortunately, the police don't respect, and some people, public officials don't expect. We have a congresswoman who doesn't talk to us. They don't respect that we are the voice of the people, and that they are, want to be accountable to their folks, but we have to find other ways. And sometimes you have to report, if you try to report the story and they wouldn't talk to us, and that's perfectly fine too. And, you know, this is a major initiative in the city. I don't know what the story is, I have to talk to your professor, but, and they don't want, it's a major initiative that they want the public to know about, but they don't wanna talk about it. That's a story in itself. Sometimes that's a story.
You could talk about the different ways that you reached out to them. You know, you could talk to people, you know, because obviously this is something that they've announced, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
Okay, so, you know, it's an official thing, so it wouldn't be like you were lying if you were to report that this was going on. And I would say, you know, ask people what they think about it, you know, because ultimately this is probably who it's for. And, you know, like Reggie said, it just ends up with, we reached out to them and they never got back to us, you know? So, you know, news directors may feel differently about it, or, you know, they might call you right before the story airs and you might have to switch it up, like, and for my next story, you know, we'll be following up with them. We just received a response from them and they say this, that, and the third. So it all kind of depends, you know, since it's something that's exclusive to Urbana Police, kind of got to stick with them. But, you know, if it was a criminal issue, legal issue, you could probably try like a state's attorney or something.
Pat Wade, he responded. Pat Wade, Robin Kaler, and Alice Carey.
It's the university you have to go through, either Alice Carey's spokesperson or, and usually actually the university's pretty good, but Urbana, city of Champaign, they're difficult in, they like to talk through Twitter, or they like to talk through a press release. Even us, you know, they just, now when they need us, they'll come to us, because sometimes they do need us. And sometimes that's the only time, and then you can work.
Well, you all, I'm out of time. What's up? You get the last one.
Yeah, I feel like this is like a good wrap up question. Just kind of like, you know, we're all undergrads here. Thinking back to your undergrad life, things that you were doing that put yourself in like, you know, these positions and allowing you to accomplish your goals. I guess like what advice to kind of go home would you have for, you know, people kind of wanted to do similar things along those lines?
You know, one piece of advice I would give y'all, which is probably gonna be three wrapped in one, but I would have to say that you have to, whatever vision that you have for yourself, being that bigger version of yourself, be that today. You know, don't wait until you get to a certain spot. Don't wait. Just be that today, whether it be wearing a certain outfit that makes you feel like that, you know, you having a certain level of charisma, you just having certain habits, right? And if you don't know what that might look like for where you want to go, look at somebody that's in the position that you're in, you know, because it's all a matter of giving yourself practice, because eventually you'll be there someday with hard work and dedication. So it's like, you gotta act like that today, because you can't wait to, let's say you do get the big job or a big opportunity that you want, but you like, you don't know what to do, you stuttering, you scared, you know, like just imagine you get the opportunity and you're just like, oh, well, you know, man. So be that person, that bigger version of yourself today.